Imagine this. You're a Roman soldier standing in Alexandria. In front of you is a sealed stone chamber. Inside is Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, the last ruler of the Ptolemaic dynasty, one of the most dangerous political minds of the ancient world. She has been locked inside for 7 days. She isn't crying. She isn't screaming. Just the sound of movement, slow footsteps, the soft rustle of fabric. Sometimes her voice, low and distant, as if she's speaking to someone. But you know the truth. She's alone in there. We've all heard the story. A snake hidden in a basket of figs, a queen meeting death with a calm face, but that version might be incomplete. In 30 BC, between August 1st and August 12th, what really happened was not some romantic suicide. It was a cold game of power. And the other player in that game was Augustus, known then as Octavian. The real question isn't how Cleopatra died. The real question is, why didn't Octavian let her die immediately? August 1st, 30 BC. Cleopatra was sealed inside a tomb she had built herself. She had prepared it in advance, as if she knew the final war was coming. Inside were gold, treasure, and 2 loyal attendants, Iris and Tramian. Below lay Mark Antony, gravely wounded. He had been told that Cleopatra was dead. In despair, he fell on his own sword. But Cleopatra was alive. Roman soldiers were begging her to open the door. She refused, because opening it meant letting the Roman army inside. According to the historian Plutarch, Cleopatra ordered ropes to be lowered from an upper window. The soldiers hauled Antony's blood-soaked body upward. Streaks of blood dragged across the stone walls. Picture that scene. The Queen of Egypt pulling her dying lover into her own tomb. Antony died in her arms. His final words were, "Do not pity me. I was not defeated by a foreigner, but by a Roman." But Cleopatra had no time to grieve. The Roman army had arrived. This is where the real story begins. Octavian did not break the door. Instead, he began negotiations. Messages were sent, promises were made, assurances about the safety of her children. But at the same time, his soldiers were already climbing the walls. They entered through the same upper passage where Antony had been pulled up. They caught Cleopatra by surprise. She immediately grabbed a hidden dagger. She wanted to die at that very moment, but the soldiers seized her. The dagger was taken away. She was stopped. Because the orders were clear. She had to be kept alive. She was locked in an upper chamber of the palace. One door, one small window, guards watching at all times. She was searched every day. Her clothes were inspected. The room was inspected. Even her hair was checked. No weapons, no poison, no rope. Now the war would no longer be fought with swords, but with psychology. There had been a civil war in Rome, Roman versus Roman. Octavian needed to show the people that he had saved Rome from a foreign queen, and in Roman tradition, there was a rule. The victor would chain the defeated enemy and parade them through the streets of Rome. After the parade, their life would usually be ended. This ceremony was called a Roman triumph. Cleopatra knew this. She had been to Rome before. She knew what humiliation in a triumph parade looked like. And she also knew something else. Octavian would present her in history as a dangerous Eastern queen, not as an intelligent and powerful ruler. This was not just captivity, it was a waiting game, and the next few days would decide whose face history would remember. An upper chamber in the palace. Through the window, the harbor of Alexandria could be seen. Below, Roman soldiers moved through the streets. Sitting there was Cleopatra. Now she had no army, no court, no crown, but her mind was still just as sharp. And standing against her was her most dangerous opponent, Augustus, then known as Octavian. Now the battle would not be fought with swords, but with patience and fear. Octavian did not threaten her directly. He offered hope. A message was sent. If the queen cooperates, the safety of her children may be considered. Notice the wording, may be considered. It was not a promise, just a possibility. Cleopatra's eldest son was Caesarion, the biological son of Julius Caesar, and that was the greatest danger. If he lived, he could claim to be the true heir of Caesar. But Octavian's entire political legitimacy depended on the claim that he was Caesar's heir. Two Caesars could not exist at the same time. Cleopatra understood that. Every day, some Roman officials came in. They measured things: her height, the proportions of her body, the size of her clothing. Why? For Rome's triumph, the Roman victory parade. The conqueror rides in a chariot. The defeated ruler is dragged behind in chains. The crowd shouts, mocks. Then comes the end. Cleopatra knew this had happened before. Vercingetorix had been paraded in Rome the same way, and then he was executed. Octavian's plan was clear: not to kill her, but to break her. She was told that her children were nearby, somewhere else in the palace. Sometimes a message would come: they are safe, but she was not allowed to see them. Why? Because uncertainty is the greatest fear. If she chose suicide, there would be no guarantee for her children. If she stayed alive, then maybe, just maybe, they might be spared. Octavian had placed her inside an invisible cage: honor versus motherhood. The days kept passing. August 1st, August 3rd, August 7th. Every day, searches. Every day, surveillance. Every day, psychological pressure. The historians Plutarch and Cassius Dio both write that Cleopatra hinted at suicide several times, but each time the guard was tightened. Octavian wanted to keep her alive until everything was ready for his triumph in Rome. Then one day, Cleopatra made a request. She asked to visit the tomb of Mark Antony. Permission was granted. Why? Because by now, Octavian believed she was completely under control. At the tomb, Cleopatra mourned, but it's possible this was the moment when she made her final plan. Some historians believe this may have been when she obtained the poison. Now the question was, would she live on as a mother or die as a queen? And was Octavian truly going to spare her children? In just 10 days, the Queen of Egypt had been turned from a ruler into a political pawn, but the final move was still left to play. The palace chamber was silent. Roman guards outside. Inside, Cleopatra. With her were her two loyal attendants, Iris and Charmian. The most popular story says a basket of figs was brought in, with an asp, a cobra, hidden inside. But pay attention, the historian Plutarch writes that it was said to be a snake. He was not certain. Cassius Dio also gives no clear proof. Some scholars believe the snake was only a symbol. It's possible she drank poison, or that poison was hidden in a hairpin, because secretly bringing a cobra inside would not have been easy. And a cobra's bite does not guarantee an immediate, calm, controlled death. So why was the snake added to the story? Because in Egypt, the cobra was a symbol of royal power. The crowns of the pharaohs often displayed a cobra, and Rome needed a dramatic story. August 12th, 30 BCE, morning. That day, Cleopatra took a bath. She dressed in royal garments. She placed the crown upon her head. She did not want an ordinary death. She wanted to control her final scene. Then a letter was sent to Octavian. The letter most likely contained a request that she be buried beside Mark Antony. By the time Octavian grew suspicious, it was already too late. The door was broken open. Inside, Cleopatra lay on a golden couch, calm, regal. Iris lay dead at her feet. Charmian was still alive. It is said that when the soldiers asked, "Was this fitting for your queen?" Charmian replied, "Yes, it was fitting for a queen of such a noble lineage." And then she too collapsed. Did Octavian lose? Yes and no. He could not parade her through the streets of Rome in chains, but he still controlled the story. During his triumph in Rome, an effigy of Cleopatra was displayed. It showed her with a snake. The crowd saw exactly what Augustus wanted them to see. Not long after, Caesarion was also executed, because too many Caesars was something Rome could not tolerate. The other children were spared, but they lived more like political hostages. Octavian returned to Rome, and slowly he became the first Roman emperor, Augustus. Did Cleopatra win? She did not save her kingdom, nor her dynasty, but she did save one thing, her final choice. She was not paraded in chains. She was not humiliated before the crowd. She decided the final scene of her own story. History is never completely neutral. The one who wins power is the one who writes the story. And even today, whether we remember Cleopatra as a dangerous queen or a strategic ruler, depends on whose story we are reading. Cleopatra did not save her empire. Her son did not survive. Her dynasty came to an end. But in history, some defeats are not complete defeats. Cleopatra never walked through the streets of Rome in chains. She did not give the crowd their satisfaction. She did not give her enemy the spectacle he needed for political power. And that was her final victory. Power is not always controlled by the sword. Sometimes it is controlled by the story. And Augustus won the empire, but Cleopatra kept her final decision in her own hands. History teaches us something important. Sometimes the greatest power is choosing the ending. If you enjoy deep historical analysis like this, where we explore not just the events, but the politics and psychology behind them, make sure to subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments, was this a defeat or a final move? See you in the next story.